So most churches, there's ushers or greeters. I'm just going to say a little bit about them now. For our 8 o'clock service here is normally when we open things up, so that's when we make sure everything's unlocked, the lights are on, that we've got our good cross flow going, that the temperature's turned up if we need to, but not too much over the threshold for our organ. So those are kind of the basic things that happen at the 8. There's a 10, don't have to worry about all that because it's already done. The greeters serve a number of roles, and one of the chief ones is to welcome people, not just longtime members, but new people into the church. And there's very much a thread to be woven there, because think about when you're at a store and you've got somebody who's being really pushy. That's not always great. Also, for our extroverts, remember that there are many introverts in the world. Those who are introverts will not have to think that through as much. So you want to be welcoming, but not too pushy. Because that can, and this is something that I've learned from experience, from conversations with my colleagues, that can be something that turns people away, which we don't want to do. Probably the best example I've seen of greeters comes from the Orthodox Church. I happened to be there for a service when I was in the middle of churches because I wanted to have that experience. And what I saw there is because the liturgy tends to be more in depth in an Orthodox service. There's a lot of moving pieces. Their greeters will actually go and sit with you, but it was done in a way that's not too intrusive. When I got there, the greeter said, "Hi, I'm glad you're here. Are you Orthodox? Okay, you're not. What I'll do is I'll sit with you, and if you have any questions, if you need help going through the service, I'll be there. But I've got to do my thing now, so why don't you go find a seat, and I'll find you later." So that was a great way of how welcomed, how included, and it wasn't like too much for my introverted self to deal with, another person being there and looking over my shoulder and everything. So that's a great example of how to do that. The other thing for greeters, one of the things that we do in our parish, which is actually really great because it actually really connects with the ancient way of doing things, is we have a list for people that we want to pray for, and we can add to that list. So anyone who comes in can just go to the side, add a name to the list that we need to pray for, and then that goes to our lector after, our intercessor lector afterwards. So all of that, having the prayer list back there, having the movement up here at the beginning of the service is very ancient. So key things there is just to make sure that the list gets up here, but also to do so in a way that's not too intrusive. So just look at what's going on in the service to determine your timing for doing it. So that's one of the basic things. The other thing is helping people come up for the Eucharist. And the only thing to really remember for that is that it is okay if people are waiting here, and I am still up here doing stuff with the choir. So pretty much after I say the gifts of God for the people of God and all of that, that's the time to go ahead and get people ready to come up there. So those are the main things for the service. Again, there may be things that we've dealt with recently. If somebody can't make it up to the altar, letting me know. If I don't know already. Those are other things that the ushers may need to help with. If somebody is just like, I don't know what's going on with the service, can you help me? That's a great time to step in and help walk them through the service too. So that's basically what you need to know to do as a greeter usher. So any questions?
What happens when we start getting into the, hopefully we get into what we've done before, like with the communion and also with the offering?
The communion offering, yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, the things that we haven't done as much of with pandemic and all of that, that's a great question. The gifts and the offertory plate, we will have another session for that, but those are other things that ushers and greeters typically do. So yeah, basically you have the gifts wherever they will be located, usually in the back, as well as the offertory plate. Generally, it's gifts come up first, so the priest can make sure everything gets distributed as it needs to. And for the offertory plate, that would come in after. And generally, you just pass that around, and people will be able to pass it amongst themselves on each of our aisles too. So great question. Any other questions?
We haven't done it that way. We did the ushers just basically on each side take.
Yeah, so I'm also trying to be as universal for this as well, because hopefully this can help other churches too. But yeah, when we start bringing those things back in, we'll have very specific. This is what we need to do going forward.
I don't have a question, but just for anybody that is new to it, there's a count sheet that's for him. So at some point during the service, count how many people are actually here, and write it for 10 o'clock on the slip. And I would just say, like, leave the plate and the slip back there, and the altar guild will take care of it.
Count the choir too, right?
I'm sorry?
Count the choir in that?
Yeah.
Yes, count the choir in it too, because right now it's it's
every person in this building,
including rather,
Right.
yeah. Now, what I've been doing is listing all the choir people and names on the first list when I come in to change the altar, but I'm not always here.
Yeah, those are all great points. So getting the count is really important. Some churches will actually take like a tiny little slip when the gifts are being offered up, and have that with the hosts, with the wafers. And the reason for that is so that the celebrant or the deacon who's whoever is preparing the table, knows how many wafers to put out for everybody here. And yes, the count is everyone in the room. So it's not just important for communion itself. We keep track of how many people attend all of our services here. So having that number and having a good, accurate number is really helpful for us to be able to do that. I generally do a count myself, but it is very helpful to have another count. So yes,
don't
thank
forget
you.
to count yourself. I've seen that happen.
Yes, you are included in that count too. Yes, that is a good thing to know.
There's also a check on our sign-in sheet.
For contact
And
tracing.
then if the count on the sign-in sheet doesn't match, you can try to.
Yeah, so that helps too for contact tracing is knowing who actually has been here. Knowing the count can help us look back and see all that too. Great, these are good. Anything else? All right, well, that'll end that session.